um, again provide us with some interesting insight into the culture of the Buddha's time. The first one talks more about, let's say, the supernatural lower skill of identifying luck. And the second talks more about the reality of following the five precepts. So many people say that following five precepts is difficult. And the second Jataka we will talk about, Kurudhamma Jātaka, illustrates how following five precepts is not necessarily difficult if you understand what involves the precepts and what would involve, let's say, some kind of a higher standard. When we talk about morality, things are getting a little more complicated, especially with the diversity of life and our experiences in life. So it's very important to understand what is a kamma and its effect in contrast to what would be the ideal of life, what would be the ideal attitude towards what we do. Okay, so I will share the screen. So here we see the presentation. They are following one another, so it will be one single presentation with 12 slides this time. And one more cultural Burmese excursion a little later. So in Siri Jātaka, we learn about a Brahmin, a priest, who has a very special skill. He can identify luck as a separate feature, as a separate sign on things, animals and humans. Okay. It seems that is something that's possible. What the Jataka talks about more is that we cannot really do anything about it. Okay, so he thought that if he can identify luck, let's say a special sign, something very special on something or on an animal or human, then why wouldn't he be able to actually make use of that skill for anything else than just knowledge or sharing? How about if we could identify luck of other people in their stuff, and then we would take that stuff, and that way we would get the luck. And that would be pretty useful, right? So the whole Jataka explains that it is not possible. Okay? We cannot steal another person's luck, even if we can identify exactly where is that luck kept and take that thing. Even at that time, we cannot steal their luck. So what exactly happened is that this priest went into the house of the great, very rich merchant Anathapindika, and he identified that the luck of Anathapindika here depicted as a kind of golden spirit by the AI, is hidden in the, I think it's called crest of the rooster of Anathapindika. So he asks Anathapindika, will you give me your rooster? And Anathapindika is, what? I don't care, take it. But right as Anathapindika decided to give the rooster, the cock, to the priest, immediately the luck disappeared or moved from the rooster into a gem that was hidden or that was placed on a pillow of Anathapindika. And so the priest says, and how about the gem? Can I have the gem as well? And Anathapindika is like, I don't care. You can take that. And then immediately, as Anathapindika in his mind relinquished, abandoned his possession towards the gem, the luck transferred to, and this is a very interesting thing, to his self-defense stick. So it seems as if in those times, in the times of the Buddha, people would have like a stick, like today in the US, people usually have a gun next to their bed. So in the times of Anathapindika or of the Buddha, people would have a stick next to their bed, and they would take that stick and hit the robber or hit whoever comes to harm them. So that is something that I myself learned and didn't know before. Okay, but as soon as Anathapindika was willing to give the stick to the priest, then the luck again transferred into something else, and in this case it was into the wife of Anathapindika. And here the priest was able to discover a little bit of wisdom in his mind, and he realized, but wait, I cannot ask Anathapindika for his wife. That would be too much. And so the priest decided to reveal, to confess his intention to steal a luck from Anathapindika. And he told to Anathapindika everything. He said, you know what? I actually know that you have luck and I can identify it in things, animals, and humans. And I thought that I'll just take your rooster and that way I'll take your luck. But then the luck transferred to your gem and then it transferred to your self-defense. I think there is a better word for that. A club, yes, self-defense club. That's the official translation, self-defense club. And then it transferred into your wife. And then I realized that, wait, I cannot actually ask you for your wife. And then Anathapindika thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. And he went up to the Buddha and he told about it to the Buddha. So the Buddha explained that actually it goes the other way as well. Sometimes the luck, the lucky charm, can be possessed and owned by somebody who does not deserve it. But before the person who does not deserve luck can use it, that luck will disappear and be owned by someone else. So there was a case of a man who was late to come into the city. In the Buddha's time, cities would usually have gates that would close at night. So if you were late, for example, you would go to collect wood in the forest, so you would be too late to enter the city. So then, sorry, the gate is closed, so you cannot enter the city. That means you have to sleep somewhere else. But fortunately, there were temples outside the cities, so you could still find a place to sleep in a temple, in a monastery. We will not get any information about the monastery where this was, where this happened, but we know that a gentleman who was a wood collector, or also known as stick Stick picker. Stick picker. Yes, that's another word used in the official translation. So the stick picker or wood collector, he decided to sleep in a temple, and there, because he has a very special power of understanding the speech of cocks, of roosters, he was able to find out something interesting. Because one rooster was above another one, maybe on a tree, hard to tell. And as that one rooster was standing on the higher in the higher level, he pooped, and the poop fell on the other rooster right below him. And the rooster below says, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I don't know. That just happened." And he pooped right away again. So the rooster below is like, "What are you doing? You're here pooping on me. You don't even know my worth." My worth, if somebody were to kill me and eat me, they would immediately find 1,000 pieces of money. And again, I suggest that you multiply it by 1,000 into dollars, so it would be $1,000,000. You maybe remember from our last week discussion where we had to really multiply the sum of money by 1,000 in order to get a reasonable amount that would make sense today. And so the rooster above says, "What, 1,000? That's nothing. If somebody kills me, they will become a king. They will become a king." So the wood collector, he heard that, and he's like, "Wow, what's 1,000? What is 1,000 pieces of money for me if I become a king?" And he caught the cock that was standing above the other one, and he killed it right away. After killing that cock, that rooster, he came up to his wife the next day in the morning, and he had his wife to prepare that meat. And then before eating the meat, he tells his wife, "You know what? Actually, after we eat this meat, I will become a king and you will become my queen." They're like, "Okay, well, then let's take a bath. Let's take a bath. Before that, before we eat the meat." And so they went to the river Ganges, and as they were taking the bath, as the world goes, when you are postponing your opportunity, that's the point. Postponing opportunity, the worst idea in the world, ever in your life. Postpone your opportunity, done, finished, gone. So we never postpone opportunities, but that's exactly what they did, and they paid for that. They kept the meat, the meal, the rooster's flesh, together with some rice prepared by the wife of the wood collector, by the bank of the river. And as they were taking the bath, the river surface leveled up because of some tide or whatever natural reason. And the river took the meal with itself, and the meal then was floating away. It was floating away and floating away. In the meantime, the woodpecker was like, "What? That's my kingship. I need to become a king, and now this way to get that is getting away from me. It's running away. I need to follow." So as he tried to follow it, he swallowed a lot of water and sand with it as well. So he basically filled his belly with water and sand as he was trying to catch his kinghood. But that didn't help him. The water was faster, and the meal arrived at an elephant trainer. So the elephant trainer had no clue what this is, but the elephant trainer had his favorite hermit or priest, and this priest knew very well that eating this meat will result in becoming a king. The elephant trainer, as a spoiler, the elephant trainer will become the king, by the way. Okay, so the elephant trainer, he sent the meat to his wife, saying that he will eat it later when he comes home. So he finished his job, he finished his work, he went home, he ate that meat, and then soon after that, we have here Ganesha. I don't know why did AI create Ganesha. That was not in the instructions. Okay, so the then the uh, kingdom or the king had to wage a war, and he was afraid too much. So the king actually took the clothes of an ordinary soldier, and as he was trying to disguise himself as an ordinary soldier, he was killed right away. But before that, the king also gave the king clothes to the elephant trainer. That was a practice in the ancient times, that the king would give the clothes to someone else to disguise himself, so that if the king had to be killed, then it would be the other person who's killed and not the real king. But because it was the elephant trainer who received the king's clothes, the situation here was different, because an elephant trainer is an expert warrior. So this elephant trainer, now in the king's robes, we could say, in the king's regalia is the very accurate term. So in the king's regalia, he was able to actually wage the war and win the war, totally vanquish and conquer the enemy. So then, after the war, the ministers were thinking, so who will be the next king? But see, the king gave his regalia to the elephant trainer, and the elephant trainer won the war. Now you need to here understand a very important cultural, traditional, let's say, understanding of like the symbolics of giving another person your clothes, especially when you're the teacher or a king or when you have a higher position. So in the Buddha's time, when you would give somebody your clothes and you are the teacher or the king or somebody powerful, which is a very important point here, doesn't work among friends, but when you are a king or a teacher and you give your clothes to the other person, it means, it is commonly understood as, that you are giving them the heritage. You give them the potential to become who you are when you die. Okay, we know this also from the Buddha. The Buddha gave his own robes to the great master, to his disciple, to his student, Venerable Kassapa. And therefore, when the Buddha passed away, monks were looking up at Venerable Kassapa, thinking, oh, he is now the potential successor of the Buddha. Okay, so we know that although Venerable Kassapa did not become the Buddha or was not considered as the Buddha, and the Buddha clearly said that after he dies, nobody will be taking over the community of monks. Still, it was Venerable Kassapa who organized and presided over the Buddhist Council, the first Buddhist meeting of the arahants, of the fully enlightened monks after the Buddha passed away, to rehearse, to recite again what the Buddha taught and make sure that everybody is clear what is the Buddha's teachings. So Venerable Kassapa, although he didn't become the Buddha's successor, he did help preserve the Buddha's teachings in a very effective way. So we can see a similar symbolics here with the king and the elephant trainer, and that's how the elephant trainer became a king. Now, if you think about it a lot, and I was thinking about it a lot, you may think, so how about the stick picker? Like, he killed the rooster who can give him kingship, and he lost the meat of that rooster. But wait, there were two roosters, right? Is it possible that the stick picker then went in search of the second rooster and get his 1,000 pieces of money? Because if he kills the second rooster, then he should get 1,000 pieces of money, right? I was exploring that. And of course, we do not have any information about that in the scriptures. But two things could have happened. So one, I think that he definitely went up in search of the second rooster. Doesn't make any sense that if he was really that poor, that he would not go in search of the other rooster. If he was willing to really kill the chicken, so to speak, and then and steal it basically from the temple, then why wouldn't he do that again? Especially if he knows that gain is so close to be achieved. So I believe he surely went. That definitely doesn't look like chicken, but anyway. So he surely went up to search the other rooster. Now let's suppose that he actually found the other rooster. Let's suppose that he actually killed the other rooster. But then one of the two things would happen. One, maybe he actually killed the rooster and he got those 1,000 pieces of money. Let's count it as $1 million right the next day by whatever accident or luck that he would get there for. That would mean that he did not have luck to become a king, but he would still have luck to get the $1 million. However, it is also possible that that meat would also slip away. Either he would not find the rooster, or somehow the meat would be eaten maybe by his dog or stolen by a robber or something else. So he would get, again, nothing. We don't know what happened, but I believe any of the two options is 100% possible. But the possibility, I'd say, is about 50% for each. Depends on the power of his kamma. So if he had the good kamma to actually get $1 million, he would. And if he did not have enough kamma for that, then he would be left with his hope and lost opportunity. So it is actually the kamma that gives you the luck. You cannot really steal luck from another person, but you can make your own luck by yourself. And you do that through merit. So we have 10 merits, but we'll summarize because we don't have that much time. So we have 10 kinds of merits. In summary, it is generosity, morality, following the rules, and meditation. So the luck is to be created by ourselves. We cannot steal it from another person. And if we happen to hold it, it will be removed from us anyway. So in this Jataka, we learn here some very interesting, let's say, linguistic metaphors. And one of them is the goddess Siri. So we can see in Sri Lanka, sometimes in Myanmar, but in Sri Lanka, this is like, you will see it in the bus. You just get on the bus and you will see their lucky charms, lucky diagrams, which explain to you what to recite so that you become lucky. And you have it almost in every bus. And it's there for the passengers. It's there for the driver as well. So you have there, like special like coding system using Pali words, and you're supposed to like recite it or look at it or memorize it. I don't really know. And that's the way how you get lucky. And you get specifically lucky because you are paying respect to the goddess of luck. And I think it is Lakshmi, but I'm not sure here. Let me see. Uh, I think it's Lakshmi. And it's, of course, coming from Hinduism, not really Buddhist idea. Um, it could be Lakshmi, yes. So, but be careful. The English word luck and the Sinhalese or the Sanskrit name Lakshmi might not be related. Okay, do not imagine that. Oh, that's Luckshmi. No, absolutely not. Lakshmi is written as Lakshmi. Lakshmi. Okay, that's just a coincidence. Luck doesn't mean Lakshmi. So here, the goddess Siri in the Buddhist scriptures is only a metaphor. It doesn't mean that there is a god who is responsible for your luck or not. Okay, not at all. In Buddhism, we actually don't believe in anything of that kind. We don't believe that a god can make us lucky. We don't believe that a god can make us unlucky as well. You see, it's on both sides. That's what makes us safe. I don't need to worry that a God would make me unlucky because I don't believe that there is any God like that. And at the same time, I don't believe there is any God who would make me lucky. But in Buddhism, I may have a mom or a dad or a child. That also works. We have that story like that. Or a child from my past life when I was a human and they were a human, or this life as well. And they died and they were born as a god. Well, then in that case, if they find me and they want to show me their love, well, then they will help me if I need something. They will get me the things that I need one way or another. But that is not called luck. That is called a nice relationship. Okay, that's like when you have a good friend and the good friend, or when you have a mom or dad, or when you have a son or daughter, the same thing, or brother or sister, you have a good relationship with them. When you need something, they help you. That's it. No supernatural anything at all. Although some people would say that God's deities are supernatural, I don't see the world that way. For me, gods are just different kinds of beings, like you have humans, like you have beings in the hell, ghosts, animals, and so on. Okay, so here, however, goddess Siri doesn't exist. Okay, goddess Siri is not supposed to exist. Goddess Siri is only a metaphor. It's a way how to say that you are lucky. And to be lucky, again, you will have to do a good deed. You will have to give things to others. You will have to follow the 5 precepts, or 8, ideally. And you will have to meditate. The more you do these 3 things, the more luck you will get. Okay, so that is a little bit of I think this is from the subcommentaries explanation. This is more of the explanation on how the luck was traveling here and there. And we have there 8 kinds of pearls miraculously arose in the ocean, specifically for King Duttagamani Abhaya. I did not research this historical idea, but there is a story about a Sri Lankan king who lived somewhere around the Christ time. Let me see. and he lived in the 2nd century BC. So he lived about 200 years before Christ, and he was very lucky. 8 kinds of pearls miraculously arose in the ocean, specifically for the king. Okay, and this is a rather recent history in comparison to the Buddha. So this could be, let's say, 2,200 years old story, but we have much more information about Duttagamani Abhaya and from his time, because in his time things were written down. Okay, in the Buddha's time, things were very rarely written down. So that's why King Duttagamani is much closer to us through the historical records than the Buddha, because we have zero historical record from the Buddha's time. Okay, we have copies, we have, we could say, oral tradition, we have records of oral tradition, but we do not have anything that would be as old as the Buddha's time. Sorry, nothing at all. But we do have a lot written from King Duttagamani. And I think, and I don't want to tell you nonsense, so I need to check. And yes, so I didn't tell you the wrong thing, and that's good. But King Duttagamani lived in Sri Lanka in the time of Anuradhapura, and Anuradhapura is a very interesting place in Sri Lanka. I definitely recommend you to visit it. I visited about 2 or 3 times when I lived there. And in Anuradhapura lived, I think, 5,000 monks at one point. So it was a huge monastery and a very important historical site. And the King Duttagamani supported Buddhism in Sri Lanka, and he was also very lucky. So the sub-commentary, I think that's the sub-commentary, compares the luck of Anathapindika to the luck of King Duttagamani. And maybe the luck of course, of the elephant trainer. All right. I think this is yet again a point from the sub-commentary. Those are some etymologies and things. We will have to skip them to save time, because our next story, the Kurudhamma, is much longer, and it provides us with a lot of very interesting insights into Dhamma. So the story of the Buddha's time is about 2 monks. You can see here a very young monk, but actually that's wrong. These were fully ordained monks, and they saw two birds flying in the air, in the sky, and one of them had the skill of killing birds by a stone. So he wanted to show his friend that he can do that. That's what he did. He killed, what was that? Was that a duck? He killed one of those birds right away. But monks are not supposed to kill. That's a big thing. Okay, monks are not supposed to kill. Even before the Buddha, ascetics would generally be understood as absolutely strict and perfect in 2 things: never killing and never telling lies. Okay, so these 2 things we see again and again. People would immediately expect, and of course, not stealing as well. Okay, no killing, no stealing, no telling lies would be like the perfected ability of those who became a monk or an ascetic. The Buddha, of course, made the monastic discipline much clearer, providing 220 7 roles in brief, and 91,805,036,000 roles in detail. And of course, providing the lay people with basic ethical standards, such as the 5 precepts and 8 precepts. So the monk who killed the bird has committed a grievous, we could say, misdeed in the eyes not only of the Buddha and monks and so on, but also in the eyes of everyone else. This is absolutely unacceptable that a monk would kill a a living being. So the Buddha rebuked the monk, explaining, like, now you're breaking the 5 precepts, when in the past, even very, very slight misunderstanding or a slight evil thought would have been understood as a huge, big problem. Okay, so then the Buddha told the story. So in that story, there was a kingdom called Kalinga. And in this kingdom called Kalinga, maybe you have heard of Kalinga from King Asoka's bloody conquest in India. You know, for King Asoka to unite India, it meant to kill thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people who didn't like that idea, who didn't want India to become one single country. Because before India was one single country, it was a lot of small, small kingdoms. And to make it one country, the King Asoka decided to just kill anyone who doesn't agree. So that's what he did, and that's how India is one single country. And the kingdom where he killed the most humans who really disagreed was Kalinga kingdom, by the way. Okay, so this is Kalinga, however, from a different period, from much, much earlier period. And in this case, they had another problem. They didn't have King Asoka to come and slaughter them. They had the heavens to simply decide not to rain. So the sky did not rain, and if the sky doesn't rain, then your garden things do not grow, your crop doesn't grow, and you therefore do not have food. And if your main food is rice, which needs to grow, well, then that's a problem. So the people were hungry, and they came up to the king, asking the king of Kalinga for help. And the king was wondering, what can I do? He found out that he can follow the rules. So he was following some rules, some ethical rules, such as not engaging in dance and singing, not eating afternoon, and others. For example, sleeping on the floor instead of on the royal bed. But it didn't help. Sorry. So then he got the idea that maybe he could get the elephant from the neighboring country, the country of Kuru. And maybe that elephant will bring them the luck. But here they are not necessarily looking for luck. They are looking for anything they can do to get the rain to rain and to survive. So they were a little bit lucky in this case already, because the king of the kingdom Kuru was very generous. So as soon as they came up to the king of Kuru and said, "Can you give us this lucky elephant?" he immediately said, "I'll give it to you. And if there is any part of his body that's not covered by gems, I will give you those gems as well." So he gave the elephant totally covered in gems to the kingdom of Kalinga, but, and that's how reality works, it didn't work. Nope, sorry. So they graciously returned the elephant to the king of Kuru, And the Kalinga king was wondering, what might the king of Kuru actually do so that he gets the rain? I'm not getting the rain in Kalinga, but he gets the rain in Kuru. What might be the trick? And they came to the conclusion that maybe the trick is to be virtuous, to follow rules. And here we will be talking about the 5 rules: no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct. That means no adultery, no telling lies, and no drinking alcohol or taking drugs. But they needed the details. They wanted to know the details, very clear details, very clear understanding of how can the king of king of Kalinga do it so that it rains again. And so the king of Kuru sent the priests to investigate about the ultimate virtue that may lead to rain. Like some people, I have heard of some people who don't like when it's raining, but if you read a lot of Buddhist scriptures, you will realize that rain is the most beautiful thing you can ever get. Because with rain, you get food, and with food, you can survive. Without rain, you're dead. So this much rain is very, very good. Very, very awesome. Okay, so the kings, the thing is that it was a little hard because these priests were trying to find somebody who was 100% virtuous. And they were speaking with 11 different people, each of them doubting, each of them having a doubt that they are 100% virtuous. And they would have a specific, clear doubt. And this is very important. Many people are like, well, I follow the 5 precepts, but who knows, maybe I broke them sometime. So that's completely not the case. Okay, so having a doubt, not knowing why, is not the case here. Okay, here the people know exactly why they have the doubt. This is extremely important. We see this as a very common problem for monks. Okay, because the monks, we see there a little disagreement between monks in Myanmar and those in Thailand, for example, where monks in Myanmar, they're like, I surely have a doubt that I broke it. So I need to confess to another monk that I probably broke everything because I have a doubt that I maybe broke something. I have no idea that I broke anything. I don't know of breaking anything. I don't remember me breaking anything. I have no really idea that I would have broken anything at all, but still I have that doubt. In Thailand, however, that is understood as purely a doubt, not as something that really has probably happened. Okay, so in Myanmar, they take it as, I surely have broken something. I have no idea that I have broken anything. I have no idea of anything, any situation that I would have broken anything at all, but still, probably I did. And in Thailand, they're like, well, that's a doubt. So might have happened, might have not happened as well. And that, interestingly, is actually closer to the way how the scriptures treat it. In fact, to be very strict here, and this is from the scriptures, that's not my idea, so you will have to process it yourself. The Buddha in the Parivara Pali, which is the 5th book of Vinaya Pitaka, the Buddha there clearly says that the person who confesses a fault not knowing the fault is a fool, is a foolish person. And we can see here in these 11 stories, these are 11 different stories given by 11 different people who are having a doubt about their 5 precepts. You can see that they're exactly clear about why they have the doubt. 100% clear what exactly happened, what they exactly did, and why they exactly have the doubt that they may have broken or not broken something. So it's very important for us to follow the virtue with clear understanding that if I am not aware of anything that may have gone wrong. Therefore, I should not have a doubt. It's not a doubt according to the Buddha's time, to the Buddha's teachings. But if I clearly know what I have done that might have broken something, well, then of course I need to approach a wise person. They did not have the wise person. They did not have the Buddha at that time. This was a past life of the Buddha, not during the Buddha. So they did not have a Buddha to say, this is right, this is wrong, or you broke it, you did not. Okay? But today we do have the Buddha's teachings in its entirety. And therefore, we can actually ask the monks who are experts in the practice of the Buddha's teachings to find out whether we actually did break or not. So this is very, very important. Many people actually suffer from mental health disease, mental health disorder because of that. It's called spiritual obsessive compulsive disorder, spiritual OCD, and it's pretty common in Myanmar. They just have a doubt that they have done something, but they don't know what. Okay, so these 11 stories are very clearly depicting what exactly may have gone wrong. For example, a king shot an arrow and the arrow fell in the water. And he has a doubt that maybe the arrow killed a fish. You see, very clear doubt. So did I break the rule if I shot an arrow and it unintentionally, without my intention, killed a fish? Is that breaking or not? He doesn't know. It's his doubt. Okay. Of course, he did not break any rule because he didn't have intention. But he doesn't have the Buddha to say that. He doesn't have the monk, an experienced monk practicing the virtue to tell him. A chaplain, so the priest of the king, he saw a chariot and he thought, hey, I would love to have that chariot. That would be interesting if I could steal it. Just the thought and gone. He's like, but that's a stupid thought. I will not do that. But that thought was there, the thought of stealing. So did he break the 5 precepts or not? He doesn't know. He has a doubt. But he knows exactly what happened. Okay, again, he knows very exactly what happened, where he might have broken a rule. And of course, he didn't break any rule. You cannot break the 5 precepts by mind. You would have to break them by body or speech. Okay, and then Queen Mother. Queen Mother, she has 2 daughters. One is older, one is younger. And she's like, okay, well, then I have here a more precious gift, and I have here a less precious gift. So I'll give the more precious one to the elder daughter and the less precious one to the younger daughter. You see here she was biased. Because the daughter is elder, she will give her a more precious gift. But does she actually deserve it? Is she more virtuous? Is she wiser? She did not think that way. And that she understood as lack of her virtue. So she was doubting whether she was maybe not really fair. Queen consorts, yes. So the queen's king, the king's queen, the king's queen saw the viceroy, which I think is like the younger brother of the king, and she, for a short moment, had the idea maybe if the king dies, then his younger brother will become the king and I will become his queen. And he's a little more handsome, so that would be pretty cool. So that thought, done, finished, thought disappeared. She didn't do anything about that. So did she break the 5 precepts? No, you cannot break the 5 precepts by a thought. You can break them by a thought of psychic powers, where by the thought you make somebody to die, or by a thought you steal, but that was, of course, not the case in here. Okay, so then the viceroy, the younger brother of the king, how about him? He had to go, he had to continue on his trip, but he decided to sleep over in a place. And he forgot that people are waiting for him outside the palace, outside the building. He forgot about them. So the people were waiting there throughout the night, and it was raining. So he felt very sorry for them. Oh, wow, I let you wait throughout the night and to completely soak wet throughout the night in the rain. Okay, so he thought that he broke the 5 rules because of that. Of course, he did not, because he did not have the intention to do that. How about the charioteer? The charioteer, at one point, he needed to be faster. He needed to be faster. And as he was trying to be faster, he applied his whip and he hit the horses a lot. And he felt, oh, wow, I hit the horses so much. Maybe I broke the 5 precepts. Of course, you cannot really break the horses. You cannot break the 5 precepts by hurting someone unintentionally in this sense. It's true that this probably is like the worst out of all the 11 cases to break any rule, because he did actually cause harm directly, but it still would not really count as breaking the 5 precepts. If you hit someone and it's painful, even tiny bit, then that is a bad karma. Okay, but it's not really killing. It doesn't mean that you will go like to hell for 100 million years. It means that you have caused someone pain, and therefore in the future you will be experiencing pain. Okay, then we have the surveyor. That's basically the person who is measuring the lands and making sure that the king gets as much land that he deserves, or as much crop that is grown on that land. Because in those times, the king would always get 10% of the crop. This is interesting because in Europe, we know that in the Middle Ages, the farmers would always give 10% to the church, to the Christian church. Okay, so at one point when he had to apply a stick for the measurement to mark the landscape, he saw that this is a hole of a crab. But if he applies the stick there, he might kill a crab there. He did not see the crab. But to follow the rule of the king and of his profession, he applied the stick anyway. And he did probably kill a crab because he heard the sound of crushing. He does not know whether he killed the crab, and he did not have the intention to kill the crab. Therefore, he did not break the 5 precepts at all. Okay, so the treasurer's honest harvest. So at one point, the treasurer, he had to take a handful of the crop to bind a head of a paddy plant. I don't really understand what exactly this means, but he needed to use a little bit of the crop to repair something so that things go the right way. But then that means that this handful of the crop will not continue to grow and be harvested. So this is a loss for the king. So he wondered whether he actually broke the 5 precepts. No, he did not have intention to steal, and therefore he did not break anything at all. Okay, so there is another story. This one I'm not so clear about, but somebody was responsible for the granaries. That means the storage of the grain. And at one point there was rain, and as it was raining, he lost the track of a marker grain. So he might have been wrong in the amount of grain that he took. I'm not exactly sure how this worked, but again, because he had no intention, nothing was broken, no rule was broken. Gatekeeper. At one point, a gatekeeper was calling people from outside the gate in the evening to come quickly into the city because he was going to close the door. And he saw there a man with a woman. And he's like, "Oh, is that your wife? That's surely your wife. You were going out to have fun with your wife, my dear friend." And then the lady says, "But I'm not his wife. I'm his sister." So the gatekeeper worried. I called his sister a wife. Maybe I broke the fourth rule. Maybe I told a lie and I broke the 5 precepts. Again, no intention, no breaking any rules. And then we have courtesan. And that's an interesting thing. For those of you who need to leave by now, because 1 hour is gone, of course, we can go. But there is a little bit more information that I would like to share with you, which is very interesting. But if, of course, you need to go and you don't want to lose anything, still I will be writing a little summary of what I'm saying here. And I will be sharing with you the presentation, so I'm sure you will not miss a beat. Okay, so the courtesan. We will be talking a lot about courtesans from now for about 5-10 minutes, so get ready for that. Courtesans are basically prostitutes of the Buddha's time. So these prostitutes, what do? They enjoy pleasures with men. And we will be assuming all prostitutes as females for the purposes of explaining the story and not going too much off topic. So the ladies here, so here to finish the 11 stories, this is the 11th story. So the priests trying to write down the virtue on a golden plate, they came up to the courtesan, the 11th person, and she also was doubting her perfection, because when the prostitute is paid to provide pleasure to a man, this prostitute is actually supposed to be the possession, the ownership of the man who paid the prostitute, the courtesan. And so it happened that the king of gods, Sakka, from the heaven of 33, came to this prostitute, and he gave her 1,000 pieces of gold. So again, think of it as $1 million. And then he disappeared. So this courtesan is like, well, he gave me money. We didn't have any pleasure, so I probably have to wait. So she's waiting. 1 year, nope. 2nd year, nobody. 3rd year, nobody. The king of gods is not coming to see her again. So after 3 years, she's like, so what am I going to do? Am I still in the ownership of the king of gods, Sakka, or am I now supposed to provide my services of pleasure to other men? She came up to the judge, human judge, and the human judge said, well, it's 3 years, so just continue your business as you did before. So that's what she did. But right as she would, the king of gods appeared again. And it was right at the time when there was another man offering 1,000 pieces of money to the courtesan. And as soon as she saw the god, king of Sakka, she immediately rejected the 1,000 pieces of gold from the new customer, so to speak. And so the king of gods, he said, very well, well done. So now you know that you are a virtuous lady. And he filled her house with jewels. So she became one of the richest people in the land. So I suppose after that, she was not anymore engaging in providing these services. But the point here is that she had a doubt, because she was almost accepting the 1,000 pieces of gold from the other man. She almost did it. Of course, that is absolutely out of question. This was totally correct. Everything was fine. She was absolutely pure. So the 11th, the courtesan, interestingly, the prostitute, is understood as the purest of all the 11, even purer than the king, the king's young brother, the king's queen, and so on. The courtesan is understood as the purest of them all. So how does that happen? How can a prostitute be a more virtuous person than the most virtuous 10 people of the country? Well, that's because the service of pleasure is understood 100% as a service and nothing at all. Even with someone who has a wife, enjoying with a prostitute is understood as a no fault because the prostitute does not have another husband. So here we need to understand that the historical times are different from today. So in the historical time, the husband is the owner of the wife. So you can think of the wife commonly wives would be treated as animals in the Middle Ages and in the ancient times as well. So for example, in Islam, we can hear Aisha, the very young, commonly estimated as 11 years old wife of Muhammad, as saying, "Oh, you're comparing us to animals." So we can see that across the different cultures all around the world, it was common that wives were treated in the way how men would treat their farm animals. Not, of course, not killing and eating their flesh, of course, not that, but they would be treated in the sense that they would be owned by the husband. So that's how a prostitute then would be free from any guilt. Likewise, the husband who has a wife and who's enjoying with the prostitute, because men generally can have ownership of several ladies at the same time. So having another lady, even temporarily, like the prostitute, would be understood as the wife, but for a moment, for that one night or for a short time. So then there would be no problem having a wife and enjoying with a prostitute at the same time, even without telling the wife at all. And the point here would be that the prostitute does not have another owner. So let's say that the prostitute would take money from one customer, but then she is bound by being the wife, the possession of that one customer. So she cannot accept money from another customer during that time, during the time when she is owned by the customer. Let's say during that one night or during that period that was agreed upon. Interestingly, with the King of Gods, there was no period agreed upon, so the prostitute understood it as indefinite, or 3 years. But the 3 years was not agreed upon with the King of Gods, so that's why she was doubting whether the King of Gods actually still is in the ownership of the prostitute or no more. So here the man is the owner of the wife and of the prostitute. And if it is another lady, so why prostitute okay and not another lady? Well, another lady as well, no problem. If the other lady does not have a husband, well, then the other lady also can be owned by the man. Now, today, however, the times are very different. Today, oftentimes, it's actually the lady who's the owner of the man. So it's totally the opposite. Or they are both sharing the ownership. They're both protecting and supporting each other equally. Or there is no protection at all. The man just does whatever he wants and the wife does whatever she wants. That also is very common today. Not during the Buddha's time. During the Buddha's time, the man has 100% responsibility for the lady. He has the responsibility to make sure that the lady has everything she needs, so he needs to bring the money home. If he doesn't, then he's useless, he's wrong, he's totally breaking all of the tradition. And he needs to make sure that the wife is protected. So he needs to make sure that the house is well protected, that there's nobody coming in and harming or doing anything wrong to his wife. So the man must bring the money, the man must have a good job, the man must provide very excellent safety for the wife. Today, that's very rare. Today, it's often the wife who makes the money and the man who's just playing the games, or it's both of them. They're both making money, both making sure about protection. Today, many women are very careful about their independence, so they don't want to be protected by anyone in any means because they can do everything themselves alone. Awesome, enjoy. So that's how the world works today. And therefore, the relationship doesn't work the way as in the Buddha's time. So because there is this contractual relationship where the man is faithful to that one woman and the one woman is faithful to that one man, having or let's say receiving services from a prostitute for a married man is absolutely out of question. It must never be done. It would be breaking the third precept. Okay. So karmic dilemmas. But we are really out of time. So I will summarize the remaining 2 slides in your summary document. I will share with you, as usually, within about 24 hours of this meeting, a document with the summary of today's meeting. I hope you have enjoyed the new, maybe shocking information. The more shocking, the more I enjoy it, because I like when I can give you information that you never knew about and never thought that you would like to know it. Information that you would never even search for. But now you know it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all again next week. Have a beautiful rest of your weekend. May you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you be successful in everything you do.
Sadhu, sadhu.